His Excellency Dr. Tari Gold, Prime Minister of Numi Kingdom, we will be blessed, we will be honored and privileged to invite you, sir, as our first speaker of today. His Excellency Dr. Tari Gold, Prime Minister, please start this masterclass with us with your introduction and your view of transforming relationship. The stage is yours, sir. We can't hear you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Elizabeth Lucas. I count it a big honor to be in our midst today. I didn't know I was going to be your first speaker, but I always see it as an opportunity. Anyway, anytime I'm called upon to share a thought um, that will inspire young ones, or to mentor, to challenge our people and our mindset. Um, I am so grateful that I'm here. I was informed of this beautiful gathering by His Royal Majesty King Jamel, who is the king of Numi Kingdom, at the same time the king of the Africans in diaspora, or the sixth region, of which, by the grace of God, I'm the prime minister for the Kingdom of Numi, and also the prime minister for the sixth region of the Africans in diaspora worldwide. I want to appreciate you for the great things you've been doing, first of all, and also to appreciate those that were able to come in on time. I heard you referring to Thomas Horn, all the way in China. Appreciate you, sir. It's an honor to get to meet you on this call. And also Pastor Ade, I think I wrote your name down earlier on. I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure, but I know, let me just say Ade, because Nigerians know how to shorten the name. So I know Professor Ade, Pastor Ade, thank you. It's always an honor to meet men of the clergy. I know there's this other young man here. I can see you. Mr. Sore Kamara, most likely from Sierra Leone. Maybe I'm right. I guess I hope so. And in Yumi, that sounds like someone from East Africa. Well, it's an honor. I apologize for not being able to attend yesterday. I had the time wrong. For some reason, I saw 4 a.m. and I thought it was 4 a.m. UK time. So I had programmed it. Was my
One second, sir. My Prime Minister, because you've mentioned our king, I would like to show his picture so that people will know the person we are referring to. So please
that's great.
allow me to welcome. So this is our king from Nubi Kingdom. His Royal Majesty, King Jafar Jamal from United States, but I know that his kingdom is African kingdom. So that is why it is so important that I mention and I show his picture. His Excellency, we've met before. He's been on our platform also before. He's also one of our Royal Council member, and I was opportuned as well to be associated with the kingdom. So thank you so much for mentioning his name. You can continue, sir.
Thank you. All protocols duly observed. I think it would be out of place for me not to mention his name and who I work with and work for with regards to what I do as Prime Minister for Numi Kingdom. Now, I was saying earlier on, I think I was trying to say that I missed out on the timing yesterday because initially I thought it was 4 a.m. UK time, which would have been 11 p.m. Atlanta time. I'm right here in Atlanta, US. And again, I said, okay, maybe it's 5 a.m. UK time. I said, okay, maybe it's 12 midnight. Then I realized, okay, it was 10 a.m. UK time. And as at this time, it was 2 a.m. for some reason. I just missed it. But all the same, I'm happy to be here. It's always an honor to meet people of like minds, to share, to understand, to get to know certain things. By way of introduction, before I go into Numi Kingdom and then share a little that hopefully will inspire us, I am originally from Nigeria. Uh, um,
Wow.
Pastor. Yeah, so I'm originally from Nigeria. I am based here in the States. I have been through, by the grace of God, through different forms of leadership in ministry. When you talk about ministry, starting ministry officially, when I say ministry, and a Christian ministry, officially in 1991, but officially in 1993 in Nigeria, in Lagos, and then moving in for all the way from being an evangelist to missionary to pastor to an apostle before moving down here to the United States in 2001, just by way of introduction. Prior to that, I used to be in the Lions Club, recognizing some things there and working there, and then growing in the Lions Club in Nigeria, all the way to being a regional director before I left. I won't say I left, but I stopped being so active in the Lions Club in 1991. Now, for those who understand what it means to be a regional director, that means you oversee a number of uh, um, states, which we call regional states. And I oversee at least 9 states in northern part of Nigeria then. Now, coming into the United States and encountering certain stuff made you to understand more a different dimension of leadership. And you start to grow in certain perspectives and understand certain things that we take for granted in Africa, but here it's a different ball game. But I will not narrow my discussion on leadership in that area. I will bring in thought frames from being who I am in Numi Kingdom, and I think that may help us in addition to what we have heard so far from the different speakers since I think a couple of days ago to yesterday to today. Now, someone might ask, what is Numi Kingdom? Here is Numi Kingdom and all the stuff. Well, Numi Kingdom dates back to 3000 BC. Officially, it came out into limelight in 2002 BC to 46 BC. And that Numi Kingdom actually spans all the way down between North Africa, which is between North Sudan and Egypt. And the glory of Numi Kingdom at its highest was the alliance it had with the then Roman Empire all over Africa. So Numi Kingdom was so well positioned to the events. For those who are historians, you will understand the 3 Punic Wars. The 3 Punic Wars then was so instrumental in shaping of North African policy at that point in time. To just not only shaping it because the attack in Carthage in North Africa, Numi Kingdom was involved. But Numi Kingdom in its height was so full of its glory and power all the way down to almost West Africa. And the influence of King Jamel in such relationships, he will tell you at any point in time that his own great-great-grandfather, who was a king then in Numi Kingdom and was captured as a slave and brought to the United States, by the intervention of the king of Morocco, after he was released, he was sent all the way down to Liberia, where he stayed. And after some time, some years later on, he passed on and was buried in Liberia. So he has a relationship with Liberia. But that's having said and done, what King Jamel has done is to resurrect 8 generation. He always calls it 8 generation monarchy. In other words, from the moment his great-grandfather was brought in here into the United States in 17-something AD to present, that is 8 generation. So he always says 8 generation monarchy. So when you hear him speak, he will tell you he's 8 generation monarchy in the kingdom, but much more is far more than that. Now, in this present dispensation, my coming into Numi Kingdom, a Nigerian for that matter, a minister for that matter, and wondering, it talks about the calling. And I can speak a lot about callings and mandates, but I will use my own example in the area of the calling. Mandates and callings are very, very important when you are chosen and you are appointed by God for a particular reason and for a particular purpose. In my own case, I already knew that the calling is already there in the area of the 2040 window. For those of us who understand the 2040 window in the when United Nations or the OEU or AU talks about the 2040 window, you're referring to a particular area in the global affairs of the world concerning different countries. So I already know that there are certain things that needs to be done in my concerning the mandate for me. Now, being in the United States, I am number one, first of all, a goodwill ambassador for the state of Georgia. I represent the state of Georgia as an ambassador with diplomatic immunity. I am also a world peace ambassador, all this prior to coming to the Numi Kingdom. And I am also a presidential lifetime awardee. I was given that award by the immediate past president of the United States, President Joe Biden, receiving that recipient as a presidential lifetime award. So that, having said that, as I look into Numi Kingdom and its strategic place in this present time, especially with regards to the sixth region, I would take that call, or maybe, of course, you may speak to that person later on. I see someone's hand up. I think that's Chaplain Brigadier General Isaac Christian. We'll talk with you later, maybe after I'm done with this intro. Having said that, in light of what I'm doing here, we know fully well what has been going on. At least some of us do know what has been going on. The African Union, through the United Nations, categorized those of African descent worldwide to be the sixth region a couple of years back. Now, when you talk about the Africans in diaspora, or Africans who are outside the continent of Africa, anywhere in the world, they fall under that category of the sixth region, or the Africans in diaspora. Now, there have been different voices all over the world, be it in the United States, be it in Canada, be it in Mexico, be it in Latin American countries, in Brazil or in the Barbados, by African Americans or Africans, people of African descent, for the voice of the African people to be heard all over. And we come to the present stage or age where we are right now with the presidency of we call it Trump 2.0, or his second term in office as a president. And almost every one of us are aware of what has been going on with immigration status, people of African descent being involved in that in all areas of the world, be it in Europe, wherever. When His Majesty comes in and starts to talk as being the king of the Africans in diaspora, of which he is truly coronated as the king of the Africans in diaspora, his heartbeat is for our people. His heartbeat is to see exactly how can we help our people, how can we be there for our people, how can we leverage certain things that we have here in the United States to make sure that our people do not go through stress. How can we bring provisions, not just provisions, how can we bring light or enlightenment to our people all over the world? I give us a good example, the Ogonis in Nigeria, who have been through a lot of stuff since the prior to the 1960s. They've been through a lot of stuff. They approached the king 2 years ago for the king to help them out. When I mean the king, I mean King Jamel, of which I serve as his prime minister, overseeing a lot of stuff. Now, we took them in and we said, okay, we are going to help you guys out. We're going to see what we can do. And not only that, we have been following through their pains and trying to make sure that we bring in certain things into the Ogoni land. Now, when you talk about Numi Kingdom, you look at the structure. Within the structure of Numi Kingdom, we have the ministers, we have ambassadors, we have consulates. We have consulates in a number of countries in Africa. In Nigeria, we have bilateral agreements with the nation of the Republic of Nigeria, with Ghana, with Liberia, with Chad, with South Sudan, with Gambia, with South Africa. We have these bilateral agreements in all these nations. And even across the board, outside Africa, we have bilateral agreements with the Kingdom of Oman, with the people of Palestine, with with Brazil. And it's still growing. And in all these areas that we have bilateral agreements with them, we have ambassadors and we have our consulates. So I oversee these ambassadors, and also we have ministers and ministries. We have the Ministry of Arts and Culture. We have the Ministry of Justice, we have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have the Ministry of Education, we have the Ministry of Science and Technology and Economic Development. Trying to think of by heart a number of ministries, and we have ministers, learned people who are either professors or doctors overseeing these ministries, and they all answer to me because I run the government by the grace of God. Now, that just shows you how large it is and the work that is going on that we are doing here. Now, having said that, I come again that's just as a way of introduction, but much more in light of what we are doing here in Yes You Can. Earlier on, prior to this meeting, I was just looking at globally on the global affairs, and I wrote down navigating on uncharted waters. Uncharted waters. Presently, in the global community, where we are today is what I call uncharted waters, because of all that is happening all over the world, especially with the issues going on, be it in Democratic Republic of Congo, with Goma and all those things happening there, the M23 warriors or rebels, or you look at, you go take an ice view again all the way to North Africa and the events taking place in North Sudan and the rebels over there. Then you move across all the way down to Israel, and you look at the issues of the Palestinians and all different comments coming from different global leaders, and being initiated by certain wars from certain global leaders, I don't want to mention name, that is now pushing even the Muslims or the Middle East to come together. Yesterday, we understand that about almost $53 billion was raised to see how by the Arab leaders to see what they can do concerning Palestine. And then you move all the way down to Ukraine and Europe and what is happening there today, and the effects of setting executive orders that have come out right here from the United States, and how it is making certain leaders, even with Mexico or Canada, to start to change certain policies towards either the West or the East. And in line with what is happening with the BRICS countries, with their intent to grow and, of course, to take over certain parts of the economy. It boils down to one thing: the economic war. The economic war has taken place. It's not that it's going to take place, it has already started. President Nixon in the 1970s was was one-time president of the United States, and he wrote a book, which I think, if I recall, it says is the Third World War, and he said the Third World War is going to be the economic war, and any country that wins the economic war will win the Third World War. Today we have an economic war going on, not just an economic war going on, but also what I call the second scramble for the continent of Africa. The first scramble for the continent of Africa was what happened in Berlin, with a few men coming together to divide or partition Africa into countries. Kingdoms were partitioned into countries. Today we have certain tribes, same tribe in different countries. Maybe, for example, you have some people who maybe speak Yoruba, for example, a language in Nigeria. Some of them are in Nigeria, or majority of them are in Nigeria. The rest of them are in Benin Republic. So now we have a different partition, a different scramble for Africa, which is the economic scramble. And this economic scramble has opened the doors to the extent that you have certain governments either going into tiny print language of selling off their countries just because they want certain people to come in or certain countries to come in and carry out certain projects. And we know that this scramble is real. The war is real. What is happening in Africa is all about scramble. What is happening in the world is all about interest, economic interest. President Trump spoke about with President Zelensky, and it's all about, okay, we can help you guys concerning this war, but we're looking at the economic interest. Now, you look at Europe, you look at other areas, it's all about interest. Question is, what do we do? What do our people do? What is Numi Kingdom trying to do in this time? What are we looking at doing in the economic, in the global setting at this time? My position as a prime minister is, how can we be there for our people concerning Africa? What can we do? What can we get this thing done? We know that different parties are coming into Africa, but we are the ones that are truly genuinely melanated people, and we know the pains of our people. And being born in Nigeria, growing through the pains in Nigeria, walking through the streets of Lagos or Jos or Port Harcourt, and growing there, I understand issues. Not only that, traveling to Lome in Togo, or also to Accra, I understand certain things. So now, in this global setting that I'm in, by the grace of God, I am thinking of how can we help our people? Our youths are suffering. 60% of the people of Africa are youths. The question is, how can their mindsets be utilized to change it from colonial mentality, to change it from whatever it used to be, to present reality of, hey, you can get this thing done. You have the same blood, red blood in you like any other person. You have the same skill set in you. All that needs to be done is for it to be activated. That's the right word, activated. Activation comes through education. It comes through good networks, good relationships. It comes through talks like this, where people of like mind come to share thoughts of our people, and then you get to grow. Last year, by the grace of God, I was at the United Nations, and I was able to meet a number of people right there. That was my first time, and I was able to meet a number of leaders right there. And I hear their pain and I hear their cry. Not everyone is out there for just their personal interest, but many of them are really there for certain reasons, whether they are working either in different capacity, maybe at UNICEF or UNESCO. It's all about how can we help these people? How can we contribute our talent? This afternoon or this morning, within the next few minutes, I come to challenge the youth. When you have a vision and you're running with a vision, different indices will be there to either put you down, hinder you, stop you. But you need to keep on moving forward. One of my ambassadors is the ambassador, ambassador, I'm trying to pick his name right now. He's the current ambassador of Numi Kingdom to Sierra Leone. He's a young man in his 20s, not even up to 30 years old yet, but he's very sharp. His brain mindset, his brain work is much more how to make sure that you remove tears from women and from girls. Girls must go to school. All the issues going on there, and it comes across board in certain countries in Africa, how the women are being put down and how girls are not allowed to go to school for certain reasons. Whatever it is, point is it's wrong. Girls must go to school. They must be liberated from that mindset. And he's doing a very great job in that. The other day, we had some, I think that was a couple of years ago, the United States sponsored some people that were unpicked from different nations in Africa, young people. They call it, I think, Yale or so. They called them and they came to Washington and came to Atlanta. And I was able to meet some of them. And I met a couple of them from Nigeria and from the Congo. And I could see how they were trying to analyze their handworks and speak out. These were bright people, great minds, and they needed help. They needed help from people like us who we are growing younger, I won't say growing older, and they needed help from their mates. They needed help from different organizations. They needed help from China. They needed help from America. I had a friend that came and I met from China, who is a great man. And he came and, of course, he spoke on these issues of how we can elevate the lives of our people. Question is, how do we get these things done? We cannot allow the mindset of the young ones to be to rot just like that and not allow it to grow. Yes, you can. It's a term that resonates deeply in my spirit concerning the young ones. It simply means that no matter what you are doing, you can make it. I went through the process of growing. Growth is something that everyone must do. Like one of my mentors in ministry said years ago, and I believe he still says that, every living thing grows. Every living thing grows. It simply means it's not just your physical being. It also talks about your spiritual being. It talks about your education. It talks about your finances. It talks about all that you need to do. It talks about your potentials. They all have to grow. Anytime you stop growing, you start dying. So access to books, access to friends, access to those that can lend a helping hand is very, very important. In Numi Kingdom, we try to do that. We have people that have come in with different projects. Currently, right now, we are working on some projects in Africa with certain governments. We know that we have certain projects in Tanzania, in Liberia, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Gambia. I know the Gambian government, they wanted to get certain things done, like the rail line, building a rail line that will connect 6 cities. And I was privileged to oversee the thought frame concerning the foundational process of that with different governments in Gambia, just talking with them and understanding these things. And then you start to see what is going on, that our people are interested, of course, in not being put back, in not being called the third world countries, but rather we are catching up. And in the process of catching up, you find that there are forces that want to put you down, especially when you're a melanated or black skinned person and you're not a white person. They try to put you down. It's always there. It has always been there. But you have to get this insurance or assurance within you that civilization started from Africa. Not only that, writing started from Africa, hieroglyphic writings in Egypt, structures concerning the understanding of the global setting and divine order all came from Africa. Writings that is called the Mahat writings, that gives you the nine pillars and then 42 principles of Mahat. Was about 3,000 years ago. Now, doesn't mean that you worship such things. I do not. I'm a Christian, full-fledged, born-again Christian. But you pick out the good things or the things about these structures, and you say, wow, these are biblical, because they all have biblical references, every one of them. So when you look at these things and you say you are an educator or you're an inventor as a young person growing up, or you want to pursue a particular course, you make sure that nothing puts you down. You have a vision and you have a goal. You run with it. You cannot be put down. The plan of every strong man out there is to limit the rising of any other person. I've seen that again and again. And I shared earlier on my life in the ministry, which spanned and is still going on, because what I'm doing is all part of the ministry. That's my calling. And I know it's my calling because I am encouraged again once in a while by God, the Holy Spirit, letting me know the structure of Joseph in the Bible in a foreign land and being the prime minister, or that of Daniel in the foreign land and being the first of 3 presidents serving under King Nebuchadnezzar. So that gives me an idea that our people, where I am right now, is a voice to help them out, to structure them, to help, to encourage them. So I come to encourage the young ones because I believe this forum is yes, you can, to encourage our young ones in the area of leadership and whatever they are doing, education and their mindset. I come to encourage us. You will surely make it if you don't give up. Be rest assured, things are changing. There is a global shift and a global change in the atmosphere. You may not see it, but you can see it in what is happening all over the world. There is a restlessness going on in the spirit of the young man and the young woman. And we that are up there, maybe as leaders positioned by now by the grace of God, we need to understand that. I remember years ago, I was in one of those
Sorry,
schools of
sir.
ministry.
Can I ask you to round up, please? Can I
Sorry?
ask you to round up, please?
Yes,
Because we still
I'm
have
about to
line up.
round up.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Thank you, I'm about to round up. I remember years ago, I was in one of the schools of ministry um, in Lagos, organized by Bishop Oyedepo. This was in the early 90s. And he said that he feels there is a change from the old to the young, and he needs to position himself with the young people. I think it was around 1995 or 96 or so, thereabout. And he brought a young man who was a pastor in Daystar, and he's still there, to be one of his speakers. And they asked him why. He said, because he wants to learn. He doesn't want to be out of what God Almighty is doing in this present time. So we as leaders need to understand that there is a change in baton to the young ones and allow them to start to grow in leadership, blossom in the giftings that God Almighty has given to them, encourage them, show them the light, and we don't sell our countries out to those who want to take over our countries. There is a need for us to rise up and a need for us to stay positive and stay focused. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Elizabeth Lucas. I hope I've been able to share some light to encourage us. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. And you want to tell me that you didn't prepare?
Well, I did not
if
actually,
you
but you see, when you
if you now prepared, then we'll be here a whole day.
when you speak out
Thank
of
you.
just life
I
experience,
know,
that's it.
because you are speaking from experience, you are speaking from the heart, and you are passionately speaking and sharing. And what you've shared with us today is very, very valuable. In fact, giving us the insight of what is going on in the world, giving us the insight of what is going on in Africa, giving us the insight of what Numi Kingdom stand for, and giving us the insight of what we can do way forward, and also challenging us, because I can count myself as youth as well, and challenging us of never to give up, always focus and keep moving. So these are the serious um, informations that you've shared with us this morning. And I really appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing with us from the word of wisdom and knowledge. I believe
Thank you.
that when I first saw Nubi Kingdom, I thought you are only going to be focusing on Nubi. But looking at it now, I think I need to personally connect with you, and we can carry on from there. So thank you so much. This is Yes You Can International. Yes, we focus on building and empowering and mentoring the youth. But we've created this platform so that the old and the new can come together and share and gain energy from one another, especially in the areas of leadership, and also relationship. And we have focused this year, 2025, to focus again on relationship, because you can agree with me that lack of relationship is also part of the economic problem and any other problem in the world. Because if our youth don't know how to handle the situation, you know exactly what's going to happen. And that is why we're trying to come together and share, and also to encourage ourselves. So I want to say thank you so much for joining us today and sharing the valuable knowledge with us today. Thank you, sir. You can still hang around if you are still free, because I know that everybody's busy, and yeah, we can keep learning. Because one of the things we say to ourselves is that don't just go to any conference and just speak and move. We are all leaders and we respect one another. Yes, you shared your opinions, your views. Others as well need to be given opportunity to share, and also we opportunity to listen, so that we can learn from one another. So I want to say thank you once again, His Excellency Dr. Tari, Prime Minister of Nubi Kingdom, and also a prominent leader in United States of America. You are welcome, sir. Thank you.